to SS2. Taking his visit to the Steelers, checking out Coach Mike Tomlin and them. He said, I understand why they win so much after visiting with them with the interview with Ian Rappaport that Shedeur did from the airport in Pittsburgh. What do y'all think about that? Shedeur Sanders' comments on Mike Tomlin and Pittsburgh. He even said Mike Tomlin kind of reminds him of his father as far as their mannerism and stuff like that. What do y'all think about Shedeur Sanders' possibility of being a Pittsburgh Steeler and his comments on his visit up in Pittsburgh?
Well, I haven't seen the interview yet, but what I was going to say to your first question, and you unloaded about 6 of them, but I deal with the first one. Shedeur Sanders knows culture. Like, he knows winning culture. He knows what winning looks like. He knows what it feels like. You can walk into a building, an organization, a restaurant, and you can tell when you're around something that's losing. You can tell just the vibe in there, how people move. And for him to spend some time with the Steelers and say, I understand why they win so much, is a testament to he himself is a winner. He knows what it's supposed to look like. He won in high school. He won at Jackson State. He won in Colorado. The guy is a winner, and winners know what winners look like. And as we talked about on this broadcast several times and can continue to talk about it to the night of the draft, is that Pittsburgh would be a great fit for him. You look at the head coach in Mike Tomlin, the stability there, never had a losing season. You look at just the philosophy of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're always going to have a sound defense. That helps a quarterback. They're always going to invest in their running game. That helps a quarterback. So you're putting a quarterback in a situation where, maybe they got to produce 14 points a game, 14 points in the field goal. You can go undefeated as Pittsburgh Steelers because the defense historically is so strong and the running game is so strong. So I like to hear that positive comment from his visit, even the correlation between Coach Tomlin and his father, Coach Prime. But we've always said on this broadcast that Shedeur Sanders and the Steelers will be a great fit just because they have the same philosophies and ideologies, and that's winning.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think that would be a great fit for him. And I just look at the wide receivers that he has. When you talk about somebody who gave his wide receivers a chance every time, where the 50-50 ball seemed more like 70-30s, his ball placement that we even saw at Pro Day or the showcase, that's the perfect spot when you got 2 6'4" receivers that can move the way they can. Talk about George Pickens and DK Metcalf, and somebody who has the confidence to go and tell them folks, hey, bro, you wrong. And somebody whose confidence isn't going to be broken if George Pickens says, hey, man, get me the ball. Well, he used to. He had Travis Hunter telling him, get me the ball. So his confidence ain't going to be shaken because somebody said something to him. Or, and the average rookie quarterback, if you get a guy like DK Metcalf saying, hey, man, get the ball up, they'd be like, all right, they're nervous. Shedeur ain't going to be nervous. He's not. I saw him last week, man. When you got GMs and owners coming to talk to him, Shedeur's like, hey, how you doing? He wasn't disrespectful, but, man, the man daddy is Deion Sanders, bro. It ain't. He been on TV since he was, 6, 7? It's not going to be a moment that's too big for him, and including that wide receiver room. So I think he would be a perfect candidate if Pittsburgh could come up with the capital to move up and get him.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to take. They're going to have to move up to get him. I don't think he's going to fall all the way to 21 for the Steelers, especially with the Saints right there at 9 and a couple of other teams who are eyeing a quarterback also. But I like what Duke said as far as Shedeur being able to handle all the personalities that are already there in Pittsburgh. Shedeur has the mindset, the bravado to be able to handle that stuff, with DK and the other wide receivers there. So I like that move also.
Let me say this, guys, and to the audience out there listening around the world live on replay. We are all the sum of our experiences. Our experiences, the totality of them, make us who we are. Look at what this young brother has experienced in his life. Look at the people that he has met, the places that he has been, the environments, whether he was just a fly on the wall as a 6-year-old or, all the way up in high school as a 16-year-old. Always been around cameras, always been around celebrities, always been around people who are bigger than life, people who are wanting for autographs and pictures and that kind of thing. And what does he do in those environments? Excel, all while being himself. So you can't rattle him, with lights, cameras, and actions. You can't rattle him with, oh, man, that's such and so over there. I've never met a person like that before. None of that is going to bother him or knock him off his square, his center. The guy is focused on winning, which is why one of the reasons, I'd often point out why New York City, whether it was the Jets or the Giants, would be a great place for him, because that's him. Like he is that guy. He's not going to meet somebody and be starstruck by him, because he is a star and has grown up, in a family of stars. So Shedeur Sanders brings everything to the table you would need and want a successful QB. But let me tell you what you're not going to hear after this visit, Dukes and Chico. You're not going to hear people from Pittsburgh saying he was cocky, or he was too confident. We didn't like his swag, because that building and that culture is full of people who are confident and walk around with swag. And so, perfect fit. And here's what you also got to keep in mind, Chico. Pittsburgh know what kind of talent Shedeur Sanders is, or Pittsburgh knows where they're currently picking from. We don't have to tell Pittsburgh they're going to have to trade up to get him. If they brought him in for a visit, they brought him in because they're willing to hear him out, see that it is what they believe it is, and start making the moves to move up. They know he ain't going to be around where they're currently picking from, and they wouldn't waste their time with a visit if they weren't willing to do the things to move up.
He ain't lying.
Factual and actual. All right, we'll see what happens at the end of the day. Of course, we've already stated where we would like for him to go. And Pittsburgh and the Saints have been like the number 1 and 2 picks, as if you want to poll us guys right here. Shout out to Andre Walker, who came into the chat saying, Neely, your frat brother, Mike Tomlin. Yeah, he is your frat brother. Shout out to him. Mike Tomlin is one of those such highly confident dudes in that building. Most definitely.
Agree.
All right. Agreed too. Shiggity Shedeur Sanders. Y'all stay tuned for more as we're going to move on here.
You could take Dukes to school and you can put him in Miami, but you can't get that Atlanta out of him. Do you see how that head is on the swivel? You're not going to creep up. Oh, Dukes is still on him, but get him for nothing. That joker.
I think that head on the swivel for a whole nother reason, for the reason why you was telling him to turn the camera over his shoulder.
Ain't nothing wrong with that swivel either.
He ain't lying.
Nah, man, I moved my back, man. I like to see what's going on in front. You feel me? Hey, and then Cam's supposed to be back about 5 minutes ago, so I'm looking for him. I think
how old you say Cam is now?
Cam at that age, he 11, man, so he'll be 12 in October. He had what they call it, the age of enlightenment.
Yeah.
I see Cam head on the swivel while we've been out here this week. So,
Cam about to be at that age where you're gonna have to start doing his own laundry.
For sure. Cam a little developed for his.
Know what I mean? Chico know what I mean. Nobody.
I know exactly what you mean. And then too, Cam started puberty a little early, so I had to have this check with him every couple weeks. Like, hey man, hey, ain't nothing happened when you sleep, did it? Yeah. I already know. So shout out to Cam. He need to bring his little tail on though.